tumble through the boom tube. Hey there, folks! Once again, from a hidden location somewhere deep in the heart of downtown historic St. John's, Newfoundland, comes In the Library of Graphic Literature. Woo! With me, Wallace Ryan, your host. Okay, folks, pretty wet and windy week out here on the east coast of North America. Being rain for the past three, 4 days. Terrible, 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 terrible. Anyways, before we start this, actually I have to send out congratulations to my good friend Jason Conway of Downtown Comics. Downtown Comics this week was nominated for a Joe Shuster Award for Best Retailer of Comics in Canada, and we were very, very honored by that, and Jason deserves the nomination. I hope he wins too. Great little store. If you're ever in St. John's, Newfoundland, go to downtown St. John's and find Downtown Comics. It is actually the most easterly comic book store in North America. How's that? Pretty cool, hey? Anyway, way to go. Okay. Oh, hang on a sec. Sip of tea. Oh, good God. This is actually the, I'd say, Mountain Monsoon tea. This is a sample that my friend Rebecca sent me from Scotland, and it's an Earl Grey tea that is absolutely fabulous. Okay, I guess that's it in terms of all the knickknacks. Oh, hang on a sec. Gives the old spinner a spin. So let's see what we have this week. First of all, actually it's something from a couple of weeks ago, but I never got it. Casey Ruggles. This is a classic comic strip from the late 40s, early 50s. It's one of the classic cowboy comic strips by Warren Tufts. It was very popular at the time, and would have been a lot more popular, would have gone a lot longer if Tufts had stayed on it. But he, well, get off me. Came into some disagreement with his syndicate. I think it was that was it, he was offered, it's either a TV show or movie, can't remember now, and the syndicate turned it down. I think it was a TV show, thinking that it would affect the sales or popularity of Casey Ruggles, which, of course, we now know, given how much we know about TV and its impact. It seems pretty ridiculous to today. But he was so mad he left them, and that was it. And I mean, he did do some work, I do believe, for Gold Key and a few other people through the years and stuff like that. And I do believe he died in '82, I think it was. He died in a plane of his own making. Can you believe that? Let's see here. Oh, an avid pilot. He was killed in 1982 in the crash of an airplane of his own design that he was piloting. Poor fella. Anyway, Tufts is an amazing, amazing artist, if you ask me, and that's why you're here, actually. So I picked this up, and I figured when I seen it, I just loved it so much. I just had to, like I say, even though it's a few weeks old, I still had to show it to you. So let's take the dust jacket off there, just so I don't tear the crap out of it. Blah blah. Okay. And there he is. There's Casey Ruggles. Now, I'll show you we'll start this out. This actually starts out with a few there's a few things there. It starts out actually it actually started out as a Sunday comic, which is highly unusual, and then became so popular it moved into to the weekly one. And you can see why it was so popular. It's actually really cool for the artwork. I think is really cool for a comic strip. But back then, the art in comic strips were definitely better, much better than a lot of the art that was in comics at the time. Although in the 50s, comic books started to really catch up to the comic strips. Well, outside of Eisner and Kirby and a few others. But everyone's dream back then was to be a comic strip artist. So yeah, check this out. It's very, very cool. I love his black and white artwork too. There's a simplicity to it too that's kind of neat. I see echoes of, actually even echoes of Foster and Kniff, and maybe even a little bit of Tuft. Actually, Tuft was actually one of his ghosts for whenever he took a break or whatever. He had several well-known ghosts, but look at that, absolutely cool. So I can't wait to get more of these books in. So and this comes from Classic Comics Press, one of the smaller producers of classic comic books, but they seem to do a pretty decent job. The printing's really good. The reproduction is, it's not bad actually. Yeah, the reproduction actually is pretty good. I'll give it probably at least an 8 out of 10. But yeah, check it out anyway. A nice book. Casey Ruggles. Casey Ruggles, Casey Snuggles, blah blah blah. What else do we have here? Oh, let's take this little one out. Oh, this is a really nice one. It's very colorful. From David B. This is A Tale of 1001 Nights, Hasib and the Queen of Serpents. David B. is probably a lot better known in Europe, especially for his, I think his most famous book is probably one called Epileptic, which apparently is worth seeing. But this one, I love NBM graphic novels. They do some really cool stuff, and this little book is no different. This has a really cool style. I like David B's style. It's pretty cool. It's a very simple cartoony style, but it's the kind of cartoony style I kind of like. Pretty cool. Look at that there. Not bad, huh? So like I say, for you folks of anything a little bit exotic, give this a try. I kind of like sort of older stories reinterpreted too. But yeah, check it out. I love this cover too, actually, the gold leaf title there and all that. Very nicely done. Okay, moving along. Okay, check that out. The weight. You could beat someone to death with this book. This is, of course, Volume 3 of the Batman Nightfall Omnibus series. This was the series from the 90s in which Batman had his back broken by Bane, and then he had a replacement Batman come in who eventually became Azrael, and I mean, it wasn't a bad little series at the time. It sold a lot. I actually had my comic book store on the go when this was on the go, and so I sold a lot of these comics. And this mainly is, I do believe it's mainly, yeah, there's art in here from the likes of Mike Manley, Blevins, Graham Nolan, Ron Wagner, Vosberg, Lee Weeks, Kelly Jones, Dick Gordana, and inkers from a large range of people here too. But overall, it's not a bad little story. It's it's interesting enough. I can remember selling a lot of the Azrael was a pretty popular comic character too back then when he was introduced, but for some reason that never seemed to continue on past you know, past a few years past this. Strangely enough, at the comic book shop, Downtown Comics, we actually still do sell the softcover versions of these. We do, they still do sell quite a bit. So it's worth checking out anyway. Of course, Kelly Jones. I love Kelly Jones' artwork. This is such a cool cover here. Check this out, folks. There's the spine, and then the back of it again. Okay, and of course, take a quick flip through bits of it there, just to give you a show some of the various and sundry styles of the different people. It's kind of neat when you have sort of a mixture, omnibus that's sort of a mixture of all these different styles and all that. I kind of like that. So a lot of cool people in here. A lot of really good. And of course Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan. I always have been. Oh, there's that Kelly Jones that we all love. I've been a huge Batman fan ever since I was a kid. I think it probably was the, well, I mean, I love the comics. I wasn't that big a fan of the TV show, because even as a kid I thought, oh, they're making fun of Batman, and I didn't like that at all. Blah 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 blah. But I stayed a big fan of Batman into the 70s, especially when Neil Adams was doing them, and then Jim Aparo, another great person in terms of an artist, and other people too, like everyone from Marshall Rogers. The 70s was a good time for Batman. Actually, a lot of classic Batman stories from there. Now, a sip of tea before I continue. Because what I'm going to continue on to is the big star of this particular episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature. Hang on a second. Love that tea. Love that tea. Okay, here we go, folks. The piece de la resistance. You like it? I mean, the artwork is incredible. Oh, it's still boxed. Anyway, let us open these. I, of course, will actually save this box. Throw them into a corner of the room in behind my shelves and all that, and I figure so that whenever I have to move, if I ever have to move again, then that's the great thing about these boxes. They're great for, if you're moving, you can rebox your collection and protect some of your favorite books. And protecting some of my favorite books. What are you doing, my laddie-o? What are you doing, me laddie-o? There. Now, what I hold here inside this box is a classic. Come on, get out. And it's a classic. This is the Curator's Collection signed and limited edition of A Contract with God. A Contract with God, I can't say enough about Will Eisner himself, but A Contract with God, I can remember buying this when it first came out. I think it first came out from Baronet Books. I do believe Eisner tried to shop it around, but you know, none of the bigger publishers would go for it, and he eventually got them to do it. He had another story too, Tenement Stories or something like that, but they went with A Contract with God, which is the title of the first. It's actually a collection of short stories. They went with that because, well, it actually sounds kind of cool. And A Contract with God, it's not the first graphic novel, but it was the first sort of modern graphic novel. It was the first, I mean, they referred to it as a graphic novel and all that, and it sort of seemed to catch and take. I know there are people out there who don't like the term graphic novel, blah blah blah, but to me, I like it. It's very descriptive, but it's a great story anyway. There's several different stories in it, all basically they have an autobiographical feel, but they're all set in New York, and he continues in a few other stories Droopsy Avenue, and oh, what was the other one? The other one. It's not sticking with me right here. But he continues on with this theme in some of his other books and stuff like this. But Contract with God, when it first came out too, was groundbreaking, because it was, I mean, this was a graphic novel. These are serious comics. And I mean, Eisner himself had always said that even when he was first doing comics with the Spirit and all that, he felt that he was working on something much bigger. He thought that comics were an art form, and he of course was right. Unfortunately, he was decades ahead of his time. I mean, he was best known for The Spirit, which was a famous comic strip that he did in the 40s and 50s, but that sort of waned after a while, and he ended up working the U.S. military on PS Magazine for the longest while, and then when he retired and he realized how much people were loving his work and all that, he rejoined our wonderful little community. So, Curator's Collection, signed and numbered. And of course you're saying, what are you saying, Wallace? Will Eisner signed your book? He's been dead for years, which is true. But this has what they call a Tipton signature. And I shall show you that. Now, this has 2 copies in it of Will Eisner's Contract with God. One is the ink version, and one is the pencil version. Have a look at the... See? Which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like a really nice printing of a Contract with God, and it kind of like comes with its own artist edition. So let's pull the first, this beautiful baby out. Oh yeah, oh, this is absolutely incredible. Okay. Well, here's the autograph. Here's the Tipton Autograph. And there's only 125 of these, and I have copy 111, which is funny because I live at 111. So this basically is the penciled version. So it's kind of neat to be able to see all this, and then to go back and drag it out and start to read it in its finished version. I love, I'm just such a huge fan of Eisner. I've been waiting for a long time. I was just so excited when this finally came out. It's one of these comics that you order and then you watch and you wait and you wait. And you get more and more excited until it finally comes out. So this is a beautiful little book there. That's the pencil part of it. Now let's reach into this. And I love the slipcase. Very nicely done. Good job. Kudos to you fine folk at not only Dark Horse but Kitchen Sink. Okay, now let's slide out the other book here. Okay. Now, of course, this is basically the ink version. Now it's interesting because this is kind of like a artist's edition too, in that this shows this is the final ink version, but you can still see the pages here. There, I'm going to show you all there. So there we go. It was an amazing graphic novel. What I loved about it was the way he broke out of the panels. He like that there. I mean, you see some sort of panelization, but he really put the panels aside in this one. An absolutely stunning piece of work. And of of course there's some of the later ones where he does returns to the panels. But yeah, very, very cool. Truly, truly worth it. Oh, there you go. Contract with God and other tenement stories. Super wanted. So, that is the wonderful, wonderful curator's collection from Dark Horse and Kitchen Sink, and I gotta say, this is definitely the book of the week for me. Hands down, absolutely the best thing to come into the library this fine, fine day. Oh, and I love, like I say, the at the top. And there's the front, the back, of course. No, isn't that New York City? And there's just a pattern on the bottom there. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely wonderful. It is very expensive though. This is a pricey, pricey book, so it is not for the faint of heart of you out there. Well, that's just about it. Oh, one other thing. I know I tell people that, you know, I do comic book art myself, and here's a few pages of, I'm working on a graphic novel about my grandfather now, and these are the first few pages. This is the first chapter. Actually, I'm just going to zip through them here, show them to them. It starts out, shows Signal Hill here, a famous building, Cabot Tower in St. John's, and me outside my grandfolks' place. Close up of me there. And then I come in, I meet my grandmother, go inside, I find my grandfather there. I sit and I have a chat with him. And this shows us chatting away, yakety yakety yak yak yak. And this one's still in the pencil phase, as you can see. And then this was the last page of this particular chapter. And that's, of course, me as a 20-year-old young cartoonist. So, and that actually will be, those finished pages will be on display starting June 8th at the Royal Newfoundland Regiments Museum here in St. John's, Newfoundland, down on the boulevard. And there are a lot of other great people in the exhibition too, from my friend Paul Tucker to Jason Lutz, and a few other people. Anyway, it's definitely worth checking out. So especially if you're in Newfoundland for some reason, drop by and check it out. Okay, I do believe that's it. Oh, hang on a sec. Cup of tea here. Oh, gotta have another spin of the old rack. I love hearing that sound, you know. As a matter of fact, I purposely don't oil it because I kind of like the sound of that. Anyway. Thanks to everyone for stopping by the library and hanging out with me for a few minutes and having a look at some of my favorite books, some of my favorite new books. Don't think there's a lot of books next week, so I may pad it out with, I may actually drag something out of the stacks here to wax eloquent about. I'm not sure what yet, but I am thinking about it. So, that being said, thank you all for your kind attention, and I love you. And keep reading them comic books. Oh, there. That ought to summon a... Oh my God. Look at that. Look at the size of that boom tube. Oh no. Oh my God. It's summoning me. Bye. Woo.